The silence has shattered. The murmurs have ceased. Jimmy Haslam, owner of the Cleveland Browns, a man more renowned for signing checks than scripting quarterback plays, has made his choice. And this time, it's thunderous. Barring injury or implosion, Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in Week 1. Not Joe Flacco, not Kenny Pickett, not Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur. Full stop. This isn't speculation. This isn't backdoor maneuvering. According to multiple sources and confirmed by Colin Cowherd himself, the order came directly from the top. Haslam didn't merely approve of Sanders, he anointed him, overriding a coaching staff desperate to cling to aging veterans like children clutching safety blankets. While Stefanski in the front office played draft day politics, reaching prematurely for Dylan Gabriel in a transparent attempt to block Sanders, Haslam stepped in and seized control. He saw what the rest of the league was too afraid or too prideful to acknowledge. Shedeur Sanders is the truth. He didn't tumble to the 5th round because of a lack of skill. Let's not sugarcoat it. It was bias, plain and unfiltered. They couldn't handle his last name. They couldn't stomach the confidence. They loathed the swagger, the watch, the walk. He carries himself like he knows something you don't. And the twist is, he does. There isn't a soul in that Browns quarterback room better than Shedeur Sanders. Not now, not ever. Flacco had his window. Pickett had his opportunity. Gabriel was never that guy. But Shedeur, he's something else entirely. He's not just playing quarterback, he's bending gravity in Cleveland. So when the Browns step onto the field in Week 1, it won't be a roll of the dice. It won't be a gimmick. It'll be validation that the player they doubted, the name they dismissed, the rookie they tried to sideline, is the one destined to lead this franchise forward. Because the owner has spoken, and Shedeur Sanders is his quarterback. The NFL draft is supposed to be a launchpad for the future. In Cleveland, it devolved into a battlefield of egos and resistance. What unfolded in that war room wasn't strategy, it was sabotage. The coaching staff didn't want Shedeur Sanders not because he lacked skill or failed to fit their scheme, but because they couldn't stomach everything he represented. Spotlight, expectation, self-belief, legacy. Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry had their minds made up. They saw the media circus forming before Shedeur's name was even whispered. So in a desperate move, they drafted Dylan Gabriel 2 rounds early, a smokescreen, a maneuver designed to block Haslam's influence. They believed that if they acted swiftly, reached just far enough, Haslam wouldn't dare intervene. But Haslam wasn't playing checkers. When Sanders was still on the board in the 5th, the atmosphere shifted. Haslam didn't just override the pick, he dismantled the entire plan. When Shedeur's name was announced, it wasn't an afterthought, it was a statement. This wasn't about optics, it wasn't a PR stunt, it was a declaration, a coronation, a power shift. From that moment, a new quarterback era began, one the staff never saw coming and no longer controls. The countdown to Week 1 had started, and every snap since has vindicated Haslam's vision. They didn't fear Shedeur's talent, they feared what it would do to their hierarchy. But Haslam didn't care about protecting egos, he cared about winning, and he recognized what others wouldn't say out loud. Shedeur Sanders is him. From the instant his name was called in the 5th round, the NFL stamped Sanders with a label, developmental. Translation, he won't matter this year, and the coaching staff acted accordingly, treating him like a camp body, an extra arm, a clipboard holder, someone to mold behind the scenes. But Shedeur didn't show up like a 5th round pick. 4 very different paths, but while everyone else obsesses over who's going to be QB1 or which veteran looks best in shorts, Grossi dropped a bombshell that stopped me in my tracks. He said, and I quote, "Rookie draft picks are always safe under Andrew Berry. He does not cut his rookie draft picks their first season." Let that sink in. Not some rookie picks, not most, always. That's not a preference. That's an organizational doctrine. That's a front office policy. If Andrew Berry handpicked you in the draft, especially in this 2024 class, you're not just in camp for reps. You're making the team. Smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and sound off in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on this because it matters. And Grossi doubled down when asked directly whether Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel would survive final roster cuts. He didn't hedge. He didn't say we'll see how camp plays out. He said they're making the 53-man roster, period. That's a seismic shift. Because most people still view this QB room through the outdated lens of a rigid pecking order. Flacco at the top, then Pickett, then Gabriel, then Shedeur. The assumption? Sanders is a developmental project. Take some preseason snaps, ride the bench, fade into the background. Wrong. That's 2002 logic. The Browns are playing a whole different game now. They're not playing checkers, they're playing chess. Let's get some perspective. In just the last 2 seasons, the Browns have cycled through 9 different starting quarterbacks. That's not a typo, 9. 4 just last season. 5 the year before. That's not depth. That's a crisis. So when people ask, is Shedeur going to play, the real question is how soon? Because based on history, someone's going down. That depth chart is a revolving door. And when that happens, and it will, who do you trust? A 40-year-old vet on borrowed time or a rookie with 4 years of team control and upside bursting at the seams? Let's be honest. Joe Flacco, while heroic in his 2023 run, is 40 years old. Even Grossi called him a physical anomaly and admitted nobody knows if his body can survive another 17-game grind. Then there's Kenny Pickett. Essentially a 1-year rental. Not the long-term solution. These aren't franchise cornerstones. They're placeholders. And everybody knows it, including them. Now here's the part nobody's talking about enough. Rookie contracts. That 4-year deal Shedeur signed, that's not just ink on paper. It's leverage. It's flexibility. It's how you build around a young QB without committing $200 million, 0 cents in guaranteed money, while Watson's deal is anchoring the cap at a ludicrous $36 million, 0 cents. The Browns front office added 4 quarterbacks for a grand total of just $7,500,000, 0 cents against the cap. That's elite level roster architecture. And with Shedeur and Gabriel under rookie deals, that's not just depth. It's a long-term chess move. But there's more. Former NFL receiver TJ Houshmandzadeh revealed what league insiders are really saying about Shedeur, and it's not fluff. While some are trying to temper expectations, the truth is, what's happening behind closed doors is where the story really unfolds. According to Yahoo Sports, Joe Flacco visibly tensed up when asked about mentoring the young QBs, particularly Shedeur. That's not a veteran taking someone under his wing. That's a seasoned pro who sees a real threat breathing down his neck. That's respect. That's awareness. That's power. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, Shedeur got pulled over twice in 1 week. One incident involved going over 100 mph, and predictably, people overreacted. He's immature, he's reckless, the headline screamed, but Grossi addressed it directly. Shedeur doesn't have a history of off-the-field trouble. He's not a problem child, no locker room drama, no college controversies. He made a dumb decision. But he's not being protected because of his last name. He's being protected because of his potential. And that's a critical distinction. The Browns see something real in him. They're investing patience because they believe it'll pay off. And that kind of patience is rare, especially for 5th-round picks. Usually those guys are disposable. One misstep and you're off to the practice squad. Or worse. But not here. Not now. Insiders close to the locker room are saying the veterans are talking, not just about Shedeur's arm, but about his mental makeup, his football IQ, his ability to master the playbook. That's not normal rookie behavior. That's next level. And here's the kicker. The Browns already have 2 first-round picks in next year's draft. And yeah, maybe they take a QB, but let me ask you, if they had no faith in Shedeur, why draft him at all this year? Why keep 4 quarterbacks? Why commit to a 4-year deal? Why guarantee him a roster spot? You don't make those moves unless you believe you've got something real. There's something here, something worth nurturing, something worth betting on. And after everything I've seen, read, and heard echoing from inside that Browns facility, I firmly believe the franchise is placing a calculated, quiet, and deliberate wager on Shedeur Sanders. But don't be fooled. This isn't a casual interest. This is a real investment, a strategic move in plain sight. So don't fall for the surface level narratives. Don't get distracted by meaningless depth chart noise or draft round assumptions. Watch the decisions. Follow the money. Listen carefully to the tone coming out of the building. Because when the inevitable quarterback injury hits, and in Cleveland it will, the question won't be, Will Shedeur get a shot? It'll be, is the NFL ready when he does? And before we go further, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and sound off in the comments. Your support fuels these deep dives. Thank you. Now let's talk about Deshaun Watson, because, let's be honest, the front office already sees how that chapter ends. Whether it's the injury history, the inconsistency, or the constant off-field chaos that surrounded him since arriving in Cleveland, it's clear this storyline is closing before it ever truly got off the ground. That's the truth few are brave enough to say out loud. So what do you do when your quarterback room is full of question marks, maybes, and ticking clocks? You stop slapping on Band-Aids and start laying bricks. You pivot from desperation to development. And that's exactly what I believe the Browns are finally doing, building a true quarterback pipeline from the ground up. At the core of it, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. Let that sink in. Think about what that means. What better way to groom a young quarterback than in a system where he doesn't need to be a savior on day one? He doesn't have to win over the city in a single game. He doesn't have to be perfect from the jump. He gets time, he gets mentorship, he gets to study, observe, and gradually evolve. And when the injuries pile up or when the veterans run out of steam, he's ready. Not rushed, ready. According to a report on SICOM, Shedeur Sanders is already showing signs of being the future QB1 in Cleveland. Not necessarily this season, but soon. Think 2025. And this isn't media hype, it's coming from those inside the facility. Coaches, analysts, insiders, people who know what an NFL quarterback is supposed to look like are seeing it with their own eyes. His arm talent, his command of the huddle, his poise under pressure. And then Tony Grossi said something that made my ears perk up. He mentioned that Kevin Stefanski and the Browns are returning to their bread and butter, pound the rock, utilize the tight ends, and lean on play-action passing. That, my friends, is a dream scenario for a young quarterback. A system tailor-made for Shedeur's strengths. He already has the arm to make those play-action throws. He just needs to speed up the reads and adjust to the NFL tempo. And for the diehard primetime fans out there, the ones who believe in Deion's vision and Shedeur's grit, this is your moment. Because finally, a franchise might be doing right by a young quarterback. They're not feeding him to the wolves. They're not lighting his career on fire out of impatience. They're letting it breathe. They're giving him the space to grow. Let's not forget, every time Cleveland has tried to fast-track a QB, it's blown up in spectacular fashion. Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Brandon Weeden. And don't even get me started on the endless parade of quick-fix vets. Each time the results have been the same. Chaos, disappointment, and another rebuild. But maybe, just maybe, they've learned. Maybe this time, they're finally embracing patience. As for Shedeur's speeding tickets, that's just static. He walked in like he belonged, like a real quarterback. He didn't wait for his turn. He took it, and that shook the entire foundation. While reps were funneled to Flacco and Pickett, and Gabriel was granted the benefit of premature investment, Sanders was left with the scraps. But what he did with those scraps, he turned them into gold. From the very first audio, he looked like a professional. Decisive pre-snap reads, pinpoint throws, complete command of the huddle. He didn't mimic a rookie, he mirrored a starter, and that confidence, that self-assuredness, that's exactly what unnerved them. Because in a league built on doubt and deference, Shedeur Sanders refused to bow. He didn't need their permission. He brought his own crown. The storyline was supposed to be predictable. Let the rookie sit quietly. Let the seasoned veterans duke it out. But Shedeur Sanders never subscribed to that script. He disrupted the hierarchy, shattered expectations, and exposed the underlying politics with unapologetic clarity. From the moment he entered the building, he made one thing undeniable. There's no one in that quarterback room operating on his level. Not in arm talent, not in mental processing, not in leadership, not even close. He wasn't supposed to matter, but he did. From day one, Sanders forced the entire Browns organization to reevaluate what was possible. What's happening in Cleveland transcends quarterback competition. This is about power, control, resistance. A coaching staff and front office scrambling to delay the inevitable ascension of a player they never wanted, but now can't stop. Behind closed doors, a quiet war is raging, and Shedeur Sanders is smack in the center of the crossfire. Thank you guys. See you next video.